What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to a very special edition of the Phaithful Phanatics show. I'm your host, Dylan Davis, and as always, to my right, my faithful co-host, Mr. Matt McGinty. Guys, make sure to give him a follow on Twitter at Matt_McGinty. And of course, we are brought to you by DSM Media. That's at DSM_media on Twitter. So go give us a follow there as well. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and give us a follow on any other social media platform that you're on and find your content, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, TikTok. We are on everything. And today, to start today's show, we are awaiting Mr. Ky Carlin, Sixers beat writer and reporter for Sixers Wire on from USA Today, and he's the co-host of the Bell Ringer podcast. Give him a follow on Twitter at Ky_Carlin. So when he jumps in here, me and Gin are going to pick his brain at this upcoming Sixers season. Obviously, Ben Simmons has returned to practice. We'll get into all that, and he is here now. Ky Carlin, ladies and gentlemen, give him a follow on Twitter, of course, at Ky_Carlin if you haven't already. Ky, what's going on, man? Thank you for coming on again.
Hey, what's going on, Dylan? Very happy to be here, man.
Thanks for coming on. Listen, man, a lot to talk about today. Season opens up on the 20th, Wednesday night, against New Orleans, and we'll get to all that. But of course, we do have to pick your brain and get your opinion on some of these Ben Simmons topics. He's back. And I guess my first question is, what's the vibe been like? What's the vibe been like around the team, the organization down there at practice lately?
Just from my perspective, it's been awkward. Just really walking into the practice facility, you can tell just it even looked like today, he looked like he was just kind of going through the motions a little bit. It's clear he doesn't want to be here. And just to me, it's like the guys can say what they want, but it sounds like to me that they're just saying that just kind of save face a little bit. Like, oh yeah, everything's fine. You know, we all know how great Ben is. It's great to have him back, blah, blah, blah. And I think we can all sit here and admit that Ben Simmons is a talented player and he makes the Sixers, obviously, they're better with him. But it's feel like at this point, you have to, if you're the Sixers, you have got to get him out of here like as soon as possible because it just looks like mentally he's checked out.
So do you think he's going to suit up Wednesday night and play essentially?
It's hard to tell. I mean, Doc kind of mentioned today that he's not really conditioned enough yet, kind of like not in great shape, enough game shape to really be playing right away. So he could play Wednesday, but I think my gut says that he'll play against the Oklahoma City Thunder, like on the 24th when they're on the road and against in a game nobody's really going to care about because they're playing the Thunder in October on the road in Oklahoma City, and there's going to be a lot less media there. So just my gut tells me that he plays against the Thunder with an outside chance of him playing Wednesday against New Orleans. I'll say I'll give a 30% chance to play against New Orleans on Wednesday.
And then kind of playing the hypothetical game. And if he does play Wednesday, will it be off the bench? Will it be minor minutes here and there like spotty? I'm assuming it's not going to be back to Ben playing 34 minutes on opening night. I could be wrong though.
I mean, he ran with the starting unit at practice today. So, I mean, listen, Ben has played with everybody on this roster except for, Niang and Drummond and, the new guys, but he's played with everybody on this roster. So it's not like he's some new guy walking into this situation or something. Like he's a guy who's been in Philadelphia his entire career. He's played with Joel his entire career, played with Danny and Seth last year. He's played with Tobias for 2.5 years. He's played with guys like Tyrese Maxey and, the other guys off the bench that are still here. So it's not like this is a brand new situation for him. So if he was going to play, I mean, you got to believe he'll play somewhere between 30 to 35 minutes, like right away, just because, I mean, he is a very important piece of this team, whether he plays or not. And listen, like I said, I think we can all agree Ben Simmons makes the Sixers a much better team. Obviously, it just at this point you have to really question whether his heart is really in it, or even his head is really in it. And to me, it's pretty obvious to me that just like he's not about it and he just wants out, like in the worst way possible.
Gotcha. And then other guys I kind of want to jump into because we don't want to spend this whole time just talking about Ben because there's other guys on the roster, but it's the second year guys in Tyrese Maxey, who obviously we thought would have a much elevated role with Ben not being here. I still think he'll have an elevated role, obviously, but then Isaiah Joe and Paul Reed are pretty interesting to me. How much time do you see those two guys getting in, I guess, the beginning part of the season.
I think Isaiah Joe is going to get minutes right away. Doc kind of alluded to that at practice today. You know, Isaiah kind of has an opportunity here, and it's mainly because Shake Milton's going to be out a while. You know, Shake apparently is not even close to being ready to play. So after he suffered the ankle sprain, so Shake will probably miss maybe October, and he'll maybe be ready to go by November 1st, something like that. So at that point, somebody's got to step up and take those minutes off the bench. And considering Isaiah had an incredible preseason, shot 61.5% from deep in the preseason, he was showing other things other than shooting. He was able to put the ball on the floor. He was able to defend. He did a really good job setting up teammates or making plays for them as well. So I thought he was terrific in the preseason. But the caveat to that is just the preseason, and nobody gives a damn about the preseason. Preseason is not real basketball. It's just kind of like a warm-up. It's a tune-up just to get you ready to go. That's not real. So I'm interested to see if he can keep this up during the regular season when guys are actually playing, when games matter and the game is at full speed. So I'm interested to see if he can keep that up. In terms of Paul Reed, he's got so many guys still ahead of him. Drummond is ahead of him, obviously. Niang is ahead of him. You know, so it's going to be hard to really if you're, and then obviously Tobias and Joel are ahead of him. So he's got 4 guys ahead of him that are the clear-cut better players than Paul Reed right now. I think the only way you really see Reed getting minutes is if somebody gets hurt. And then unless he makes an impression in practice or something, I can't see Reed earning minutes right now. He's still too raw, at least in my eyes.
Well, that's my next question. You brought up the 2 new acquisitions in Andre Drummond and Niang. How have they looked so far, not just obviously in preseason games, but in practice, in camp? And how big of upgrades do you think they are from those positions last year of, Dwight Howard and Mike Scott?
Mike Scott.
I had to get him involved in the show a little bit.
Man, Mike Scott. Listen, Mike Scott Hive. I love you guys, but Mike Scott was not good. Listen, Scott was good for a stretch, and it was obvious that he kind of fell off a little bit. Niang is a huge upgrade. I think Niang can be a guy who's going to be a sneaky good addition. He's going to be a guy like people are really going to be talking about around the All-Star break. Wow, the Sixers really made a good addition with George Niang, and it's because you can tell he's just got a high basketball IQ. He understands how to play this game. He understands where to find his spots. He understands what defenses are trying to do. And on the other end, he understands defensive schemes. You can just tell the guy loves the game. And then also with his 3-point shot, a lot of people don't seem to understand this. I think he shot 42.5% from 3 last year in Utah on 4 attempts a game. That's a solid number to be shoot that high of a volume and knock down as many as you did. That's a really good volume. When it comes to Drummond, he's not the defender Dwight is. Right. I don't think it's close, but Drummond, in the role that the Sixers will have him in, he's a guy who's going to come in and he could get the occasional double-double in how many minutes, because he brings a lot of energy, and he does have one elite NBA skill, and that's rebounding the basketball on both ends of the floor. He's an elite rebounder. I think he's probably a better finisher on the offensive end than Dwight is at this point as well. He's not the leader Dwight is. So you're losing something with that. But Drummond is a guy who's a former 2-time All-Star. He's led the league in rebounding plenty of times. He's not a good defender. So he's a good weak side shot blocker, but that's kind of about it. He's not really good at any other aspect on defense. So, but I think overall he is an upgrade over Dwight, just because he's younger, more spry, good energy, good finisher around the rim. And they got him on a veterans minimum deal. You got a former 2-time All-Star on a vet minimum deal. So it's a great addition for the Sixers overall.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm excited over the backup center position yet again, but I understand he's not as solid as Dwight Howard was defensively, but just offensively, even games Joel Embiid's going to miss, because he's going to miss games. You have a guy who over his career is just averaged 20 and 15 at times, 20 and 14 at times. So to have that as your backup center is kind of exciting to me, whereas Dwight Howard, unless it was an oop, couldn't put the ball through the circle. My follow-up question to that is, obviously when we think of scoring off the bench and, getting production off the bench, your mind really doesn't go to the backup 4 and 5 positions. So they haven't really acquired anybody, any guards or wings coming off the bench. But how different or how much better can this year's bench be compared to last year, who kind of struggled come playoff time?
I think that question will be answered when the season begins, and that's because you're going to need Matisse Thybulle to step up and hit like 37% on threes. You need him to. Obviously, Matisse is an incredible defender. The dude made an all defensive second team despite only playing at 20 minutes a game. Amazing defender. We all know that. But offensively, he needs to step up. He got to start knocking down open threes consistently, getting to the basket, understanding when, where to cut. And you saw that a little bit in the second half of last season. He shot a little bit better from deep after the All-Star break. I noticed that there were a couple different times he understood when to cut. There were a couple different times where he was going to the basket. He took an extra step in order to be able to have an easier finish. I thought that was really good. I think that's something that he needs to take with him into this season. Furkan Korkmaz is another one. Korkmaz, here's the thing with him. He's obviously a very good three-point shooter, but when the three-point shot isn't falling, there's got to be other things that he can do. There has to be other things for him to where he can put the ball on the floor and get to the basket, or create plays for others, do something, anything other than just shoot the three-pointer. So I feel like those two are going to be a big question mark, and they're going to have to be able to answer questions this upcoming season. Whoever starts between Tyrese Maxey or Shake Milton, the one that doesn't start has got to come off the bench and give you something, which you know they will. Shake averaged 13 a game off the bench last year. Maxey does his thing. And then, I feel like Niang and Drummond will be able to make up for a lot of, offensive efficiencies from the bench as well. So those two are going to be big additions. You're going to need Matisse and Furkan to give you something Matisse to give you something offensively, Furkan to find more consistency. And then whoever starts between Shake and Tyrese, that guy's got to give you some production as well.
So when you say whoever starts between Shake and Tyrese, that's saying Ben out of the equation, correct? Or are you saying
Listen, I'm not including Ben in any equation.
Gotcha.
That's just kind of how I'm at right now. Like, this is how I view the whole Ben thing. I think Ben will play some games. He will. But I mean, we have to realize he's going to be traded. He's going to be traded at some point. He is not staying here. He doesn't want to be here. Like unless he has some epiphany over the next 2 weeks and they have a kumbaya moment and they get rid of it all and Ben comes back to earth and they move forward. But there are literally zero signs of that happening. He's getting traded. And I feel like, we all just need to kind of realize that. I do believe he'll play in what's going to look like? It's going to look like the James Harden situation last year in Houston, where Harden trotted out there for the Rockets. He did his thing and he got his buckets because Harden is a walking bucket. He scores in his sleep, but you could just tell he didn't want to be there. He mentally checked out. And it's going to be the same thing with Simmons when he does play. He's going to do his thing. He'll probably get one triple-double here and there. Okay, great. But mentally, you just see it. Just he's not going to be in it, and they're going to trade him. So I'm not including Ben in any equation. That's just me.
No, yeah, I got you. So kind of jumping into expectations, essentially. We were the 1 seed last year, and obviously things ended not great. But what do you think the expectations really are for this team with the roster, how it is? Like you said, him out of the equation. Can this team make a run? Are they a legit contender, or is it just not enough?
I feel like it's going to depend on who they get for Ben. Like if they somehow pull off a miracle and get Damian Lillard or Bradley Beal, then we can include them in the conversation. If they bring back a guy like CJ McCollum's not bad. I like him a lot, but he's not Damian Lillard. With McCollum, I feel like they could maybe contend a little bit, but nothing too crazy. But on the flip side, I mean, listen, if those three dudes are healthy in Brooklyn, and yes, I'm going to include Kyrie because I feel like at some point he's going to get vaccinated and just rejoin the Nets. If those three dudes are healthy, nobody's beating them, and it won't be close either. I mean, damn. I mean, Brooklyn almost beat Milwaukee with just one of those dudes. So, like the way I see it is, if Brooklyn comes back and Harden, Durant, and Irving are healthy, with the additions of you brought back Aldridge, which obviously we had a huge thing, but he was able to unretire and come back. You brought in Paul Millsap. Joe Harris is still an incredible 3-point shooter. There's a young guy, Nicholas Claxton, who I love. You got Bruce Brown. Cam Thomas looks good. I see Blake Griffin too. All of a sudden he's dunking again. I don't see how anybody even challenges the Brooklyn Nets. And that includes Philly, even if they had Simmons. No way.
All right, so Sixers not at the top of the East for you. I brought that up earlier again because it just the vibe feels off from a team coming off the number 1 seed, Joel playing at MVP type level. You're like, okay, we can make a run at this thing, especially with Brooklyn unhealthy. And it's like the way they collapsed and lost, and then all the offseason drama. It's like no one is speaking Sixers championship contenders as of right now. Where do you think they fall in the landscape of the Eastern Conference?
Well, I got them as a 4 seed. Like, if you want me to be completely honest with you, I have Brooklyn ahead of them, Milwaukee, and Atlanta. I mean, listen, I mean, you can go back and look at that series, and you could argue with me and say that if Ben shot even 50% from the foul line, the Sixers win that series. And I'd agree with you, completely. But I feel like that experience that the Hawks had, getting to the Eastern Conference Finals, 2 wins away from the NBA Finals, Trae Young taking that next step forward, kind of becoming like a legitimate, close to being a superstar in this league. John Collins taking a step forward. They didn't have DeAndre Hunter last year either. And that was a guy who was really huge for them, so on both ends of the floor, knocking down threes and being an underrated defender out on the perimeter. You're bringing him back. Kevin Huerter was obviously huge in Game 7. Clint Capella is a huge addition for them. I love the second-year guy they got, Onyeka Okongwu. He's a good player. I feel like the Hawks are going to be one of those teams that are going to high fly this year. So I do have Atlanta finishing ahead of Philly. But you could also argue with me that Philly could finish ahead of them because I can also see it too. But at the moment, I'm saying Atlanta. But I feel like Miami is going to be nipping on their heels as well. Like, that's another team. I don't know if the Heat are really going to do anything in the playoffs just because a lot of those guys are older. But between Lowry, Butler, and I love Bam Adebayo, the Heat are a team I feel like are going to challenge some team. The Celtics, I think, can be a team that can, be sneaky good because of just how great Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are. And then I love the Dennis Schroeder additions, and we all know Al Horford is going to somehow make a difference for the Celtics. We all know it, right? So we all know Al Horford is going to make some type of difference and to give the Celtics a big boost. So I don't know, man. I feel like the Sixers' opportunity, like their window, is kind of shut. It's just like that's just kind of how I view this team right now. Just because if like I said, if those 3 dudes in Brooklyn are healthy. And it's not like any of them are old. Like, all of them are kind of in the prime of their career. They could dominate the East for like 3-4 years. Then you look at Atlanta, and the Hawks are on the upcoming rise. You got Trae Young and the other younger guys there. And then Milwaukee's coming off an NBA title. So it's just like, you're going to tell me the Sixers are, with all the dysfunction going on with Ben Simmons and what's going on there, is going to be able to beat one of those teams in a 7-game series? They could beat Atlanta in a 7-game series. Milwaukee and Brooklyn? No, I can't see it.
So outside of the return for Ben being something not astronomical, but something that could push them over the hump, exclude that. Is there anything at all that they could do to overachieve in your eyes and put yourself in that conversation? Like, if Tyrese Maxey is like 2 years ahead of the curve, if Joel Embiid somehow takes his game to another level, if Tobias Harris, can average 25, 26 games, is there anything they can do as constructed that can, change your mind and put them in the conversation?
For me, it would have to be Maxey, Dylan. I thought it would have to be Maxey for me. Like, if Tyrese were to somehow take a next step, like right now, and become like this, legitimate 18 to 20 points per game scorer, because Tobias is going to give you 20. I don't think Tobias can make a jump from 20 to 25. That's just me. I don't think that's his game. Because Tobias isn't a ruthless scorer. You know what I'm saying? Like, you'd have to be a ruthless scorer to get up to that point. Tobias is a guy who plays within the system, and he's focused more on getting other guys open and then scoring his points when they come. So for me, it would have to be Maxey, because what you're going to get from Tobias. If Maxey can be the guy, can take a step forward, sure. And then I'll even go back to the bench. If Matisse Thybulle can shoot somewhere around 35 to 37% from deep, then I can see that making a huge difference too, just because of how elite defensively he is. But Thybulle needs to add a 3-point shot. Like, for me, like, if he doesn't come back with a 3-point shot and he's still the same player offensively, I would be pretty disappointed. I wouldn't say, yo, you gotta trade him because
Yeah.
obviously he's an elite defender, but I would be very disappointed if I was a Sixers fan and
Well,
Thibault doesn't add to his offensive game.
yeah, well, me and Gint always say how it's the most overtalked 6 points you'll ever see per night because it's like the dude's such a freak defensively and causes so many issues for offenses that when he does hit 2 threes and gets a dunk and scores 8 points, everyone's talking about how great of a night it was. And it's like, you're right. If he could find a way to average double digits per game, if he does that, if he does come out and shoot, 37, 38% from three with the defensive player that he is there any way that Doc shuffles up the starting five? Does Danny or Seth find their way to the bench? Does that make them better if they do so?
I think the only way that happens, I feel like if let me take that back. I feel like if that were to happen, if Doc were to be like, yo, let me start Matisse, I feel like probably Seth would probably be the one heading to the bench. Just because Seth is not the defender Matisse is, and Danny is still a good defender. I don't care what anybody says. Danny Green is still a good defender. Everybody just wants to remember game 1 against Atlanta when in reality, Trae Young was cooking everybody. So cut it out. So like the way I see it is if Matisse were to add that, then yeah, like you could totally sell me on him moving in the starting lineup and put in and maybe moving Seth off the bench because he's a guy who would be able to come in just literally just shoot threes and do his thing. So I feel like that would make the most sense.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of my thought process is, excluding Ben, you're losing that defensive player of the year candidate in your starting five. Plug Matisse in. He doesn't have to be asked to score like that because you have Joel and Toby and Maxey and whoever else. And then Seth can come off the bench and just unload from deep and be a bucket off the bench for you. That's kind of my thought process there. One more question I did have for you, I don't know if Ginn has anything else, is in the other conference, you mentioned how you think if Brooklyn's healthy, they're just going to steamroll through this right to the NBA Finals and take home that title. What about the Lakers? Because they picked up 75 people this offseason. I believe the last show you were on was when they acquired Russell Westbrook and a couple other players that night. I saw before we went live, they claimed Avery Bradley. Of course, they had to. What are your thoughts on that fit on Russ with AD and Bron and Melo and the 99 other players they signed?
See, they're going to be interesting to me because obviously LeBron James is LeBron James. I will never bet against that guy. But the reason why I feel like Brooklyn is going to steamroll whoever is because the Nets literally almost beat the Bucs with just Durant, and then you look at the Lakers roster, and I'm not sure how Westbrook is going to fit with LeBron and Davis when none of those guys are shooters. None of those guys are knockdown shooters. I mean, I will admit LeBron has continued to add that to his game, and he's a capable 3-point shooter. Like I think he's shooting around 37%, which 38%, which he'll take all the time. But Westbrook isn't a good shooter. Davis isn't a good shooter from deep. Davis is a more mid-range guy than anything. And I'm interested to see how that works out. If you start Carmelo, what Melo are you going to get? Are you going to get the Oklahoma City Thunder Melo? Or are you going to get the Houston Rocket Melo? Or would you rather bring him off the bench and be the Portland Trailblazer Melo? Who I like the Portland Trailblazer Melo. A guy come off the bench and just shoot a bunch of jumpers and with the occasional throwback, turn back the clock Melo game where he goes for like 30, 40, whatever. I mean, listen, you'll take that. Carmelo's not the player he used to be. We all know that. And I don't like him starting. So if the Lakers were to start him, I don't like that either. I look at the Western Conference and it's hard to really kind of handicap who's going to come out of that conference because I love Denver and they're going to get Jamal Murray back at some point. Denver made the Western Conference Finals 2 years ago. So I like them a lot. Can the Phoenix Suns do it again? Can Chris Paul, Devin Booker, and Jay Crowder and DeAndre Ayton, come together, Mikal Bridges,
a former Sixer?
Try to get that going again. Can the Blazers finally win it with Dame and Chauncey Billups leading the way? Like, can Portland get it done? Can Utah finally take the next step? Because the Jazz have always been one of the better teams in the league, but they always seem to get tripped up like the Sixers early in the playoffs. So then there's the Clippers. You got Kawhi coming back from injury. They were 2 wins away from the NBA Finals last year. So it's hard to predict. And then I also like Dallas. I really do. I mean, if Luka can take another step forward, you like them. So I don't know. The Western Conference is going to be hard to handicap. So, but at this point, we'll say the Lakers. Like I'm just going to lean more towards the Lakers just because I love LeBron and I will never bet against that dude. But it wouldn't surprise me if like some random team came out of the West this year. Golden State too. Because I mean,
Yeah.
Steph Curry almost dragged that team to the playoffs all by himself, and I was getting Klay Thompson back. So we'll see what happens.
All right, get anything else for Ky?
No, I'm all good.
No?
I feel like we've had you on such different phases. We had you when we had the first time we had Al Horford. The next time we had you, we were the 1 seed. The next time we had you, we thought Ben would be coming back, and then now we're here. It's been like a huge relationship.
Yeah, it happens.
It's a roller coaster of a ride with this team. Everybody go give Ky a follow on Twitter at Ky_Carlin. He is part of the Sixers Wire for USA Today. And Ky, tell the people where they can find your podcast and all of your work.
Yeah, you guys can go over and head over to SixersWire.com. And then you can also follow me on Instagram with the same handle, Ky_Carlin. A lot of stuff gets posted on there as well. And then you can always check out the Bell Ringer podcast too over at Apple, Spotify, and we'll post it on the website, SixersWire.com as well. So thank you guys.
I always forget, you're a Batman guy?
Can't stand him.
Oh, that's what it is. That's what it is. What were your thoughts on the trailer?
I saw it. It looked lame. Like, okay, I love I will admit I enjoyed the Christian Bale Batman movies. I loved The Dark Knight, The Dark Knight Rises. I thought Batman Begins was too long, but the second and third movies were great. But I don't like Batman the superhero. Period. There's just reasons, man. It's like I can't do it. Like think about it. If Elon Musk decided to throw on a cape and practice Taekwondo, everybody would riot. Like if that was a real thing, no, nobody would mess with Batman in real life. No.
And he doesn't use no guns, dude. No weapons, not no weapons, but no guns. Weird rule. Weird rule for a guy who goes around and just beats people's asses all movie long.
Yeah, can't do it. But when the clown prince of crime gets the murderer and he wants to play it by the book, I can't do it. I can't.
Gotta go against your one rule tonight. All right, Ky. Thank you so much for coming on again, man. I'm sure we'll be in touch and have you on in a few weeks. Wait, I did have one more thing. Predictions for Wednesday night.
Oh, I think they can win Wednesday night. New Orleans won't have Zion Williamson, and Zion's their entire team.
Right.
So I like Brandon Ingram and Devontae Graham, Kyra Lewis Jr. Good players, they're really good players. I love all the guys I just mentioned, but it's Zion, and when you lose Zion, the Pelicans just immediately just go down. So I do like the Sixers to pull out a win, whether Ben plays or not. We'll see, but I do believe Sixers win regardless.
All right, there it is. Ky, again, thank you so much for coming on, and I'm sure we'll be in touch soon, my friend. Thanks.
Thank you, guys. Dylan, Matt, thank you so much for having me on. You guys have a good day.
No problem. You too, buddy. All right, Ky Carlin, everybody. Again, before we get Scotty on in here and start talking about the birds, because obviously we want to go from one low to another on this show. That's what we like to do. Thoughts, takeaways from the interview with Ky? Anything stick out to you from what he said?
I started to have like a sense of optimism, like, wow, he might play, he might be here, we might keep him, and that just shattered all that. He's gone, he's not coming.
I did see your tweet when someone posted a picture of Ben back at practice, and you were like, "Am I allowed?" Like, yes, am I allowed to be happy?
No, yeah, I mean, definitely interesting.
It's not long-term happiness, my friend. It's just, I think this is, you know what this is, Gint? This is like your chance to say goodbye. It's like you didn't have that. He was gone. He was in the wind. He was cross country. You didn't have your chance to say your goodbyes to Ben. And it's like, now you get your chance. Will he go out gracefully? I don't know. But I cannot see. I have to agree with the guy who's in the building and hearing his perspective. The fact that it's just seemed awkward is not that I'm surprised. Obviously, you kind of figure it would be awkward. But when you're talking about a professional organization and a bunch of grown men, you would hope that it wouldn't be too awkward and they could just get to business and play ball. But it doesn't work that way, I guess.
The Lakers signed Avery Bradley.
Did they sign everybody?
I don't understand how they have spots left in the roster. But yeah, I also think it's super interesting when I mentioned if he plays Wednesday, what he thinks his role will be. And he said he thinks he'll probably play between 30 and 35 minutes. That was really surprising to me. I thought Doc would definitely kind of slowly get him into this thing, but maybe not.
Well, I think the biggest issue for me playing him again is we keep the back and forth is okay, are the Sixers better with Ben Simmons? I would hope that everyone can agree. Yeah, even though, a lot of people hate his shortcomings and what he does on a basketball floor, they are better with him. But the issue again for me is they're not better with Ben on the floor if Ben's mind and heart aren't on the floor. Like if he's just body, if everything else is somewhere else, they're not better with him on the floor, and I think that kind of just takes away from the team and from the morale. And Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid, there he is. What's going on, everybody? The three co-founders here at DSM Media. There's the S. Scotty, go and follow at Scotty Drown. What's going on, man?
Not much, man. What's good with you guys? Glad to be on once again, discussing this loser Birds team, man.
Yeah, man, let's do it. Let's shift gears again. We just had Ky Carlin on. For everyone who's joining in now or joining in a little bit, you can check out the replay on our Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, or Twitter account later on tonight. Great interview with Ky Carlin of Sixers Wire on USA Today. But yeah, man, let's get into this Eagles-Bucs Thursday night matchup. I got to talk yesterday on Turf Talk. Obviously, Scotty, got to chat with you again about it. Again, I'll get your thoughts on it as well. But being at the game, being there, wasn't excited. It was a weird vibe all week to me. It's been a weird vibe most of the year with this team. I just don't feel the excitement, the enthusiasm that I would normally feel with my Philadelphia Eagles. And just once again, a poor game plan, a poor gameplay calling day by Nick Sirianni. Poor execution and play by the quarterback and Jalen Hurts. We'll get into all of it, but again, you are the co-host of the show, so you go first, my man. What's one of your biggest takeaways? Where do you want to start with this Eagles loss? What are you distracted, dude? Come on.
Are we starting positive or negative?
Well, what positive? What
do you have anything?
Do we really have positives?
I mean, like,
if you say they only lost by 6, no, they didn't.
No, I mean, maybe Sirianni started to see something in the fact that when Miles Sanders touched the ball, some good things kind of happened. That might be a positive you can take away from the game.
No.
Jalen Rager's good at drawing pass interference calls. Like, that's about it, man. This team is so depressing. They never had a shot to win that game on Thursday. At any point did I think they were going to win that game.
No, it's not about that, though. I don't mean to cut you off, but it's not. To me, it's no one thought they were going to beat the Bucs. I was at the game, and no one thought they were going to beat the Bucs. But again, it's what we go back to every week. What do you look like? How does Hurts look? What kind of game does Sirianni call? What's the defense look like? How does Devontae Smith look? And nothing's good. They are on a downward trend week to week. They keep doing and making the same mistakes over and over again. To your Miles Sanders point about Sirianni maybe figuring it out. I don't think so. I don't think Nick has thick skin. And when I tell you that every time Miles Sanders touched the ball, that stadium was as loud as it was the entire game, from a sarcastic type of cheer, like a middle finger to Nick Sirianni, run the football. So every time he ran the ball, they went nuts. So I think that's more, I think he was just in the second half, they went nuts and he's like, oh, they're excited. Let me do it again. Even though I don't want to, let me do it again. But it's such a mess, dude. I can't believe you walked in here thinking there were positives.
It was more like a sarcastic positive.
I know.
To be honest with you.
Well, what else is new?
Yeah, I can't take this team serious in any way, obviously. I mean, Zach Ertz scored and then they traded him, so that was cool. Dallas Goedert's now the glorified tight end one that half this fan base has been waiting to happen. So, dude, Thursday was just, like you said, it didn't feel like a Thursday night game. It felt boring. I thought it was going to be much worse than it was. I will say that. I mean, I predicted we were going to lose by 21 points. And we very well almost could have. But, again, one-score game. Just for all these people that are optimistic and take it and run with it.
Scotty, what are you feeling, man?
Yeah, not much better than what Gant was saying there. It was very unpleasant. I was lucky to not have to watch it on Sunday, I guess, right? Like Sunday is my day off work. Like that's where everything's supposed to come together. It's supposed to be, a bird Sunday, get to watch them win. Didn't have to watch them lose on my day off. So like that's a positive, I guess. The sad part is I'm like at the same point that I was at last season when all of this felt like it was happening. The season was unraveling. The team was looking really bad. I'm confused on who to blame. Like, is it the coaching staff? Is it Howie Roseman? Is it Carson Wentz? Is it Jalen Hurts this season? Is it, the offensive line beat up? There's just so many things that are falling into it. And it's just confusing me. I've seen nothing from Jalen Hurts that makes me feel positive about the quarterback situation going forward. But at the same time, I'm not sure that any quarterback could come into this situation and be successful. You look at a head coach that, once again, and it's so eerily similar to Doug Peterson, where he does nothing to help his quarterback. He does nothing to help him. You don't run the football. Miles Sanders had 1 carry in the first half. Something similar that I actually noticed exactly what you're talking about, Dylan, where in that second half, he handed the ball off. And Miles obviously took it, had a great carry because he averaged 6.2 yards per carry that night on his 9 carries. And you just kind of it felt like corny, right? Like, now you want to run the football.
Dude, when I tell you, if there was a roof on that place, it would have come off from the sarcastic ass cheers this fan base was giving.
Me and my girlfriend looked each other in the eyes because I had said to her right after that first Miles run where he actually took off. And I was like, see. And you hear the crowd, really amping it up to another level at that point. And this guy runs the ball again. And I'm
That's
just
what
like,
he does.
It's not you, dude. Like you're trying to feed into the crowd, which that's even cornier in being yourself, which is already a corny game planner. That's where I was at. At that point, I'm like, man, is this guy one and done?
So a report, listen, I'm not saying that the Jay Glazer report means much 6 weeks in, but I did see before we went live that Jay Glazer reported that Nick Sirianni is not on the hot seat and will not be fired this offseason. It means nothing right now. If they don't win another game or win 2 more games, that conversation changes. But after a 2-4 start, the report is his job is safe for the time being.
I just don't get – sorry to cut you off. I don't get – Nick Sirianni watches the Buccaneers play, and the Buccaneers have the greatest quarterback that's ever lived. And they're handing the ball to Leonard Fournette, and he's running it down our throats. And it's like, that's the greatest quarterback of all time across the field, and they're running the ball at will. And you have a guy that started 10 games and has looked beyond subpar in every single one of them, and you feel the need to never run the ball. Also, not to mention the weapons Tom Brady has to throw the ball, and we have Jalen Reagor, who I despise more and more as the weeks go on, especially
I can't do it, dude.
The defending of this guy on the timeline was crazy on Thursday.
I can't do it, dude. He gets 1 catch for 6 yards, and someone clipped it and was like, where are my Jalen Reagor haters at?
Dude,
what?
The tweets about the pass interference, I was trolling about it earlier, but like someone really tweeted like he's got 90 yards of pass interference yards.
That's not
a stat. It's not a thing. There's nothing. It doesn't help his case. When he gets a contract, they're not going to look back and be like, oh, he could have 2 catches in that Buccaneers. That's not how things work.
No,
seriously. Yeah. Jalen Reagor, that's like kind of I don't even know if it's a side note at this point, but I mean, I think Smith and Watkins has kind of made you kind of ease up on Jalen Reagor maybe. You kind of forget that he's a first-round pick because if you watch him on the field, what does he do that is a reason for him to be a first-round pick?
Can I answer?
He can't even return punts. He can't.
Can I answer? Not a damn thing.
He looks slow.
No things. He does nothing well. It's dude, so I've went on multiple rants on this show and on Turf Talk. So both of you have heard me speak on Jalen Reagor. It's not that he's just a poor player at the moment, right? It's how you conduct yourself after playing poorly.
Yeah.
Dude, someone's got to take his social media.
Yeah, dude. Like, there is no haters. There's no me against the world. There's no putting a chip on my shoulder, putting the odds to rest. Dude, 20th overall pick. Not going to keep harping on it, but that's a fact, I think. 20th overall. Yeah, right. That's a number. Fact, right? It's not his fault he was selected there. It's Howie Roseman's dumbass pick. The bottom line is you don't have a chip on your shoulder. We don't need you to go out and outproduce Justin Jefferson. I'm not asking for that. Just do something. Don't be a negative week in and week out. Don't have one more catch than the three of us have on Sunday afternoons and then talk shit on social media to fans because they're calling you out. Now, can fans get out of line? I'm sure his DMs have some wild shit in them, and it's not right. But you got to ignore that, dude. That's a minority. The majority of the fan base isn't calling, like, talking on your name, like being talking reckless, saying whatever they want about you to you. That's a minority. The majority is just saying, dude, play better. You suck right now. And that's just kind of where I'm at with him. But
Jalen Reagor's social media stints have made the pick of him way worse than the pick of him, truthfully. And I know it was a first-round pick, so you invest more in Jalen Reagor than you did J-Jaw, but, like, J-Jaw just sits in the bushes and, like, doesn't say anything and, like, hides. Like, Jalen Reagor's, like, opening his mouth, like, screenshotting things, putting up, like, my back's against the wall. Like, yeah, your back's against the wall. Yeah, right. Week in and week out. That's why your back's against the wall.
Yeah, man. The best part about those people are when they find, like, they put out one play. And it's like, bro, if you're going to defend someone, you better have, like, a reel. Like, there better be a highlight reel of things you can point to. When you give me one catch for 6 yards, when you give me one pass interference call, when you give me one punt return touchdown, we got to have a discussion here. That's not cutting it.
Yeah, no, and, I get people, like, don't compare, Reagor and Justin Jefferson. Like, how do I not compare them? Like, how do I not look over in Minnesota and Justin Jefferson as a top 10 wide receiver? And
that's not on him. That part's not on him. That's on Howie Roseman, because Howie Roseman screwed up and reached and overdrafted and drafted Jalen Reagor over Justin Jefferson. He didn't ask to be put in this situation. That's fine. No, I'm not coming at you for that. I know people are going to look at the numbers, and why wouldn't you? But no one's taking those numbers to him, putting them in his face. I'm sure some people are, but again, minority. Don't pay attention to it. Just go produce what you can produce.
Man,
you're not producing anything. How we got on to Jalen Reagor like this is beyond me. Whoever started this conversation, I want to say it was Gint, because he knows how to get a tick out of me. But
I think I pulled it from Gint's entire, like, overall statement, just because he's a show that is not a show.
Yeah, man. But you both touched on problem number one, so that's where I'll bounce off from. Then I want to get to kind of problem number two for me, and kind of we'll have a conversation on it all. But problem number one, I think we can all agree, no matter how poor the quarterback play has been, is the play calling and game plan and preparation of the head coach, being Nick Sirianni. The dude is being outperformed every single week, it feels like. Obviously, he was better against Atlanta. Obviously, they came from behind in Carolina. Still didn't have a good day in Carolina, so he's looked good in one win. That's it, right? So that's problem number one. Now I want to get to problem number two, and that's Jalen Hurts for me. Now, if you listened to Turf Talk yesterday, you can go back and watch that, my kind of thoughts on there. But I'll try to reiterate them to you two, since you guys weren't on the show or didn't hear them. Scotty, I hear you. Like, it's not entirely fair to criticize Jalen Hurts too much and take it too far and claim he's not the guy. And I'm not claiming he's not the guy just yet. I get his play caller and head coach does nothing to help him out. Actually, he does the opposite, and he actually makes Jalen Hurts' job harder on the field than rather not just helping him out. I get his offensive line is beat to hell. I get his defense hasn't performed well. I get Nick Sirianni doesn't run the ball. I get he doesn't have the best weapons. I get it all. So it's not entirely fair to the kid. But you did ask me a very important question on Thursday night, and I thought about it. You said, how can you judge him? How can you evaluate him when all this is going on? That's true. But what I can evaluate is what's in Jalen Hurts' control. And that means his accuracy issues. That means underthrowing ball after underthrowing ball after underthrowing ball in tight covered spots where a receiver cannot go back and make a play. That's overthrowing balls to wide open receivers that result in horrible looking interceptions. That's more accuracy issues. That's leaving a clean pocket too early. That's being stuck on one read. that's making mistakes. I hear about his IQ and his football IQ all the time. And I'm not really questioning that, but when I see things like him throw the ball out of bounds on 4th down, when I see him throw the ball out of bounds on a free play, on Thursday night when it's 1st and 10, he's running away from one of the linebackers on Tampa, and instead of just flicking the ball out of bounds for a new play, he slides and gives up for a 3-yard loss. That's not high football IQ. So you're right. It's not fair to criticize Jalen Hurts and put him as problem number 1 when he's a young quarterback who we know has issues coming in and he doesn't have a lot of help. But I can evaluate what he can control. And what he can control hasn't looked good outside of a game and a half so far. 2 games maybe. So that's why he's bothering me. That, like, when I tell you, dude, I texted you this when the game was a 7-point game and they wouldn't have won the game, but he's got Zach Ertz streaking over the middle of the field for a 1st down. He's keyed in on Jalen Reagor the entire time. Now, when I got home, I saw that play was probably pass interference. It's the one that a lot of people were freaking out about where the dude was like holding Jalen Reagor's face mask. But Zach Ertz is wide open. He's stuck on one read. He left the pocket way too many times when it was clean. And he has sincere accuracy issues. That's what I can evaluate, and he has not looked good to me. He's not it right now. I'm not saying he can't be it, but right now he's definitely not it for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's week in and week out. You hear the same things from the announcers, whoever's announcing the game. It's that ball can't be thrown there. That ball can be thrown in one spot, and he's not throwing it in those spots. It's inaccuracy is getting worse. It seems like it's getting worse and worse, I should say. The thing with Jalen Hurts is – and it's more of like a fantasy perception of him, to be honest with you, is he does it so well with his legs. He feels like he gets in the end zone every single week. So
he got me 30 fantasy points.
Exactly. Like people, I feel like people are like, he's getting off the hook because of the perception. Again, as a fantasy quarterback, fantasy football is just taking over the football world, it feels. So I don't know. Maybe I feel like I might be being too hard sometimes when I hear other people talk about him. But to me, he has not – the improvement is not there.
No.
We talk about every single week we mention this is a retool year. You're just finding out if this guy's the guy. And to me, he's shown nothing to prove that. Besides the fact that Duke can run, he might be a good fullback.
Yeah. No, in all seriousness, to Gint's point, that stuff's good, but that's extra. The leadership, the football IQ, that's all extra. It's what you can do as a pocket passer. And the last thing I'll say before I throw it to you, Scott, and I'm not saying like this isn't like from what you said, but I saw it on social media a lot, on Twitter a lot before Thursday's game. And I saw a lot of optimism that I didn't have. I wish I had that optimism going into the game. It would have made it more exciting, but I didn't have it. And I saw a lot of people talking about how poor and bad this Bucs pass defense is. And it is. It's the worst in the league. Richard Sherman, who they picked up out of his street clothes 3 weeks ago, got hurt in the first quarter. So now they're down the guy they just picked up off his couch. So a weak secondary is even weaker. And I hear how the Eagles are playing Tom Brady with a hand injury, and it's a short week, and they won their last 6 or 8 Thursday night games. And this pass defense, Jalen and this offense are going to move the ball down the field and score points. And then when he doesn't, I got people telling me it's Tom Brady and the defending champs. No. It's one or the other. It's the worst pass defense in football, or it's the defending champs. And that's why I don't want excuses being made too much for this kid. I'm not saying give him leeway. I'm not saying be lenient with him. But it's one or the other in my mind. You can't say it's the defending champs, but then before the game starts, say he's going to tear them up because they're a bad pass defense. Scotty, I know I don't mean to bring your mood too down because I know you're trying to be more optimistic about Jalen Hurts than I am. But
yeah. It's not necessarily optimism. It's really just trying to evaluate the Eagles overall, like looking past Jalen Hurts. Like, what do I think this team is? I definitely get it because the Bucs, their pass defense is some shit. I mean, to be straightforward, there's some shit. But my problem is when you don't run the football at all, it just allows the defense to get
yeah.
They just pass rush, right? And they pin their ears back and they go forward. But to your point, I'm not somebody that is making excuses for Jalen Hurts, Because I'm seeing the same things that you guys are seeing. Like, I'm watching the games, I'm seeing the missed throws, I'm seeing the bad decisions. And, you know, it's just really hard for me to evaluate who he is. But at the same time, I can also evaluate him to the point where I see he's not a franchise quarterback right now. And I'm wondering, you know, can he be at all? I guess my concern just goes directly back to the head coach every single time. Because obviously Jalen Hurts, you know, at this point, we see that this guy can't make these throws, right? Or at least at this point in his career, he can't make them. Why can't the head coach see that? That's
100% true.
That's
Why
But
why magnify those issues early in his career? I've said that before. That's not right. I just can't stand I don't understand where it's coming from.
Tell you that he's an MVP candidate.
People will go,
other
Scotty,
side.
listen, I know Eagles Facebook groups are not the place. Okay, I understand. But when I'm going through and I see someone saying, I truly believe he's the next Russell Wilson. When I see Brian Baldinger, a great football mind, call his Carolina performance heroic and say Jalen Hurts for MVP. Why are people, I understand he's likable. He's a good kid. Why are people like going to the edge of the world for this, to defend this kid, and then calling me and other people haters when, no, I need to see it. And I'm not seeing enough. If you're seeing enough, we got two different opinions of what a franchise quarterback looks like.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I guess my only reference point is, you know, to think about how highly I thought of Carson Wentz before last season, and to see how an unraveling team, a bad coach team, an undisciplined team can really make a quarterback look like the worst guy in the world. You know what I mean? I'm looking at Carson Wentz, who's a former MVP candidate. He's getting back to that level in this season, right? Like, it's something that people are starting to talk about. Just to see that, I just wonder what it would be like if we ran an offense like a Baltimore offense, where it is just run, pass at, you know, if you need to, right? Like, you're starting him in situations that I feel are not ideal. Once you get to third down, you got to get 10 or you got to get 12. You've lost yards on those first couple plays. But I'm not trying to make excuses. My concerns, I think, just lie elsewhere. I think it is easier to replace the quarterback than it is to replace the head coach. I think it will be easier to move on from Jalen Hurts than it'll be to move on from Nick Sirianni. But Jalen Hurts, just to talk specifically about him, I'm with you. The number one thing that he does that just totally irks me is one, running before the pocket breaks down. I cannot stand that shit. And it just shows the immaturity. It shows the anxiousness that he's playing with. And by the way, on primetime football, he has looked like shit. It is embarrassing to watch him on primetime football.
The Washington game, the Cowboys Monday night game, now this Thursday night game against the Bucs.
Why the hell did they put the Eagles versus the defending champs on like a prime? I don't get that either, but that's besides the point. The other thing that I really don't like about him so far is the unwillingness to just hand the ball to Miles Sanders on those options.
Yes.
Just elongated, like, oh, I'm taking this. Even down in the red zone, like, he's scoring, but give Miles a chance to get his confidence going. That's going to work out. That's going to bode well for you in the future, rather than you going in the end zone again and staring down the camera. And dude, we're down
throwing the ball 100 miles an hour at the wall. Like,
who are you mad at? Are you mad at us, or are you mad that you have 115 passing yards in the fourth quarter against the worst pass defense in the NFL? Like,
exactly.
That's the stuff that I don't like.
Again, I do see you trying to get in there. I just have one more thing to say about Jalen Hurts so far. You're right, Scotty. Now, the excuse of the RPOs is bullshit when it comes to Sirianni. When talking about why he doesn't run the ball more, well, the RPOs are part of our run game, and so he counts them like that. That's the excuse is bullshit. However, from a Jalen Hurts point of view, dude, every once in a blue freaking moon, can you put the ball in Miles' stomach and let him go? Like, you don't need to pull it every time. You take the R out of RPO. Okay, so it makes zero sense. Last stat for you guys here. It's from Shane Haff from TPL. Jalen Hurts is 41 of 44 passing behind the line of scrimmage. He is 130 of 208 passing, which means 21% of his passes have been behind the line of scrimmage. If you remove those passes, he is 89 of 164 passing, which is a 54 completion rate. That's horrible. So you can blame the design. Why is he passing behind the line so much? That's a Sirianni thing. But you can also argue, well, Sirianni doesn't let him throw the ball down the field because he can't throw the ball down the field.
No, I 100% agree. And Dylan, that's kind of where I was going to go with it as well. It's like I would give Jalen the benefit of the doubt if the play was there and you saw improvements, but you don't see it. And again, the scheme's not good, and we all know the scheme's not good. We're all admitting Sirianni's problem number one, but problem 1B is the quarterback. And he, again, showed nothing to even be like, all right, let's get Sirianni out of here. We'll give him another shot with somebody else. You can't play this game of is this the guy for 2 seasons. It's a one-time thing. And if he doesn't improve, like that stat Dylan just read off is pretty mind-boggling is the word we use on Mondays, right?
Yeah. But listen, that's not what you just said. You're right. It's not fair. That's not fair. Most quarterbacks don't get 1 year. I understand that. But when you have a situation the Eagles have, mind you, a situation the Eagles are at fault for. I know a lot of people like to say the Eagles have X amount in dead cap money. Thanks, Carson. The Eagles have these issues because no. The Eagles have these issues because of the Philadelphia Eagles. Okay, let's get that straight, right? So it's not fair to Jalen Hurts, but when you're in this situation where you don't want to fully rebuild, when you have potentially 3 first-round draft picks this upcoming year, when one of which, well, yours is looking to be a top 10er. Because you stink, and the other one could be top 3 to 5, and then who knows what happens with Indy. You have a rare situation here where you need to know in 1 year because you have to pull the trigger with those 3 picks. Whether you move those 3 picks to go and get a proven guy, I'm not saying I'm on board for that. Obviously, you don't want to. You have a lot of holes to fill. Sending 3 first-rounders and whatever else for Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson, I mean, doesn't solve those holes really, but I mean, imagine Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers and Midnight Green. I don't know. Or you can plug and fill the rest of your roster because it'll make you better. Or you use those picks to go get a guy high in the draft to see if he's the guy. But you have to know without one way or the other if Jalen Hurts is the guy. It's not fair to him. It's the situation you're in. It's the situation you put yourselves in. And that's the shitty part right now.
I mean, if it's even in question, he's not the guy. You can't, again, it can't be a
I know.
Year thing where it's, all right, one more. We'll give him 6 games next year. No, it's either we have to waste one of these picks that we're going to have in the top 10, like you just said, or you can try to go get a big-name guy, but there can't be a limbo thing.
Yeah. Just in like a side note before I get to what I wanted to say, just about the pick situation. Somebody presented it to me the other day, but like, the Eagles could end up flipping these picks and get an extra first-round pick like every single year from having 3 first-round picks. If the Carson pick obviously works out, they could still have 2 first-round picks and then gather another first-round pick.
I see what you're saying.
Like it could just keep going. So it's an interesting situation they're in. But no, I'm with you guys as far as there's no time to waste here. This is the offseason. If you have to go out and get a quarterback, it has to be this offseason. And then the argument to my own point earlier and why I'm so confused with this Birds team is how much of this offense and the play calling and the audibles and the, run pass option, making the wrong decision, how much is that Sirianni and how much is that Jalen Hurts just not making the right decision? And then the other side of it is also on those plays where he is missing throws, there are plenty of quarterbacks that can make those throws. So if there was another quarterback in Sirianni's system, would Sirianni look so terrible?
That is something I'm getting extremely agitated with this fan base on Twitter. I've seen a lot of people over this weekend say, like, basically arguing every quarterback misses throws. Someone mentioned Justin Herbert. Someone mentioned Russell Wilson. Dude, I understand quarterbacks miss throws. Have you ever seen Jalen Hurts play or look like Justin Herbert or make a throw like Justin Herbert? Scott, you said a couple weeks ago, Jalen Hurts made a throw yet that Carson Wentz can make? By the way, I'm not being that guy this year. We are not on this show.
People will argue the 2-point conversion against Carolina, which was a great play, but still
that's a play. That whole play was great. The throw wasn't anything spectacular.
Yeah.
It was just the overall play.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be that guy. I'll let Gimp be the guy that said, because we don't definitively know we were right or wrong between Carson and Jalen yet. And the Colts are 2-4. And Carson did one out. You had to move him. I understand all that. But when you watch Carson Wentz throw a deep ball like he did on Sunday, can Jalen Hurts ever make that throw?
Talent-wise, there's no discussion there. And I knew that going into the offseason. If we're giving up Carson,
that's what I keep hearing, dude. It's like, well, yeah, talent-wise, it's Carson, but Jalen's leadership, I don't care. That's secondary, dude. I don't understand what our fan base like. What do you want? For a player to be really good on the field and your team to win games, or do you want to be a mediocre or below average team, but your quarterback's a great guy and he's a leader? Who gives a shit? God, it bothers me, man. It really does. The fact that you have like the nerve to mention to seriously throw Jalen Hurts' name in a tweet with Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow and Russell Wilson. What are we doing here? What have you seen from this kid whatsoever so far that gives you the idea that that's smart to put a tweet like that together? No one's saying they don't miss throws. He hasn't made the throws like the other guys do.
And then kind of just because I got to jump out of here. I got to get to a basketball game. But, dude, I hate being the I told you so guy because I think it really negates takes that you make in sports when you're arguing about things. But now you're starting to see, and I'm not saying you particular, Scotty, but Scotty said, the talent's not there. But last year, it was a question on who the more talented quarterback was.
Yeah.
There was no debate about that.
Yes.
It was flooded on the timeline. And this dude fumbles that if he holds the ball too much. But I can't stand that all of a sudden I'm seeing on the TL that, it was never a debate on who was better at this time.
Yeah, it was.
Jalen was really mold, and he was mentally tougher than Carson. Come on, man. We're not doing
Hold on. So before we wrap up, King, because if you got to hop off. But I just knew I saw the tweet and I screenshot it and I forgot. I'm not saying this as like I didn't want to come off and say it. It was Vance that tweeted the tweet with Justin Herbert. Who filled in for me on Turf Talk last Thursday. He said, we talk a lot about Jalen Hurts. Y'all know these other young QBs not named Justin Herbert are missing throws all over the field too, right? So a little different, but I did see other Justin Herbert tweets there as well. I knew I screenshotted that though. Here's the last thing that I want to say, since we are on the topic of Carson Wentz and Jalen Hurts. The funniest thing, I know we're doing it now, we're talking about it, but I'm only talking about it because of what I've seen throughout the week. The best part is when Carson was moved on, Gimp, what did you and I get a lot of? He's gone. I don't want to hear about him anymore. Jalen Hurts is our quarterback. If you can't get on board, go be a Colts fan, blah, 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 blah. This is the first time I'm talking about Carson Wentz on a show since basically he's been traded. Every single week, after a poor Jalen Hurts performance, those same people are on social media comparing the numbers early in Carson's career. And y'all gave Carson this much time. I'm not talking about Carson, bro. I'm evaluating Jalen Hurts. Why are you guys bringing up Carson Wentz again?
Carson was number 2 pick in the draft. Like he's gonna get more time than Jalen.
Phil said it best. Phil said it best. You don't just forget how to play like an MVP caliber quarterback. And I'm not saying he'll ever get back to 2017. But I always hated the argument. He was good for 1 year. That is the biggest bullshit lie Philadelphia fans have ever tried to talk themselves into, ever. He was horrible in 2020. Do not get me wrong. And he wanted to be moved. It wasn't going to work out here. They had to move on from him. But it was Carson's play too. But I blame the Philadelphia Eagles for that. And I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me, but it's the Philadelphia Eagles' fault that this situation played out the way it did. It's the Philadelphia Eagles' fault they have cap space issues. It's the Philadelphia Eagles' fault that they have 1 year to determine if Jalen Hurts is the franchise quarterback and then do what they need to do in the 2022 offseason and 2022 draft. That's where I'll leave it. I didn't want to – it's not a Carson Wentz debate, but it's kind of why they're in the situation they're in now with Jalen Hurts and needing to know ASAP.
Just one positive going forward, because there's a lot of negativity around this team, and rightfully so. There's so many question marks. I just can't even begin to like list them off. We didn't even talk about the defense today. The schedule gets much easier, so maybe we get to see, if Jalen Hurts struggles against these type of opponents down the stretch, which I know the Bucs had, some of the worst pass defense, but there is some pressure that comes along with playing against Tom Brady, even if you're the other quarterback. If he can't perform against some of these other weaker opponents, if Nick Sirianni can't outcoach some of these weaker opponents, that's when I'm really, really going to panic. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm trying to control it right now because we've had the third hardest schedule so far. Either way, and we only lost by 6 to Tampa Bay, but it's just not the way you want to see it.
No, and
down, right?
Play out. That final score was so skewed. Like, that's
so
not how the game was played out, dude, at all. Here's something here. Here's on the opposite end of the spectrum of where I was just going with Jalen Hurts. Just saw this. Another supposedly great football reporter in Football Mind. Marcus Hayes, always getting a lot of attention. Did you see this?
Yeah, I did see it.
Bench Jalen Hurts. He might one day be a fine QB, but he has too many fundamental flaws right now, and the Eagles have too many talented veterans to waste a season. Wow. Now, I'm going to assume you put that caption out there to do what I'm doing right now. Have people click on it, talk about it, tweet about it. I hope you don't believe that. What?
That's nothing for us.
What talented veterans are we wasting a season on? I'm not saying they don't have pieces. I love Darius Slay. Javon Hargrave's been a freak so far.
That's it.
I'm kind of out of names. Unless you're throwing out Rodney McLeod and Steven Nelson and Fletcher Cox, none of them have played spectacular so far. Yeah. And if you're going to bench Jalen Hurts, Joe Flacco or Gardner Minshew stepping in and winning this division?
Yeah,
I just stumbled upon that now.
So that's Scott, the other side of it, the other side of what we're talking about.
That's too far. That's too
so
far left. That's
like
compared to right. Like that's way off.
You just get nothing out of that. Like, the point of this season is partially to figure out what Nick Sirianni does.
If you're sitting here meaning that article and that caption, and you truly believe the Eagles are wasting a season, wow. You're the only one, my friend. Just like how Nick Sirianni said that they have faith and they trust and they believe in their process. I said, well, they're the only ones. Well, Marcus Hayes, if you think that they're wasting a season and they could win this year, you're the only one. Awful. But Scott, before we wrap up here, Zach Ertz was traded. Talk to me about your thoughts on it. Obviously, you are a Dallas Goedert guy. He finally gets to, get that tight end number one type of recognition, hopefully. So what are your thoughts on the whole trade, what they got in return for Ertz, and what it means for Goedert?
I thought it was never going to be easy, whether it was after the season, if he was going to get traded, whatever the plan was originally, it was never going to be easy with Zach Ertz because he's the greatest tight end of Eagles history ever. And then on top of it, you're talking about he's maybe the greatest receiver in Eagles history ever. Obviously, we have Harold Carmichael, Mike Quick, those guys down the line. But you're talking about Zach Ertz that was second right behind Harold Carmichael in all-time receptions list. So anytime you're losing a guy who contributed to your only Super Bowl win, he had the game-winning catch, it was never going to be easy. My takeaways all came from the press conference by Howie Roseman afterwards. And it was just interesting because in my mind, I could never process. I could never process why we can't use both of these guys a lot. And Howie Roseman basically comes out and says, we're making this move because we see what Dallas Goedert has in practice and training camp. We want it to be displayed fully on the field. I'm confused why they couldn't do two tight. Like, it's worked very well for us in the past. And they're you were looking at Zach Ertz on the squad still. They were two of our top, what would you say, 4 weapons? Top 3 offensive weapons? When you're talking about
by far top 4. By far top 4. And like I said before the season started, obviously Devontae Smith, we hope develops into that. But him and Goddard are probably your 2 best pass catchers right now and route runners.
Yeah. So it was confusing in that sense as far as Howie Roseman and kind of the reasoning that he kind of threw out there. Also, how did you feel about them? Basically, they had the trade already lined up before the game and allowed him to play, which if he gets injured, I guess it falls through, but I guess you just don't care that much. Like you would open to keeping it. So in that case,
I don't know if they had the set trade ready. I think they made Zach aware that he was about to be moved. And they asked if he'd want to play, one last time in Philly. Obviously very emotional. I saw him run out of the tunnel and go nuts. Obviously, I didn't know why. There was some speculation that one of them was going to be moved, and some people were leaning Goddard because of what they could get in return for him. Obviously, what didn't end up being the case, but it's definitely weird because if you're Arizona, like if they had the trade set up, that's why I don't believe they definitively had it done, because Arizona would have been like, he's not playing or I'm not making this trade.
Like, why would they not want him to play on Sunday for them?
Not just that, like what if he gets hurt not playing for them when they had this trade set up? So yeah, I don't think it was done, but I think the idea was there. I think it was being put in motion. And as like you said, almost the all-time reception leader and one of the best tight end to ever walk through this city, one of the best Eagles, one of my favorite Eagles to ever walk through this city. They gave him the option to play one more time. And I'm glad they did. He also won me some money as an anytime touchdown scorer.
So like the return, it's like you get a 5th rounder and Ky Carlin. I don't know what Zach Ertz's market was, but they held out for a really long time to just get like a 5th round pick and a 6th round pick from the previous year's draft. But overall, like I'm not mad at the trade. I'm actually happy for Zach Ertz that he gets to go to like a 6-0 team and
go win a Super Bowl, Zach.
Yeah, go win a Super Bowl. Literally get out of this dumpster fire that is the Philadelphia Eagles. And somewhere, quite honestly, where he's going to be used more. He's going to be heavily involved in that offense. There's a lot of guys that can be decoys in that offense to where he's not going to be guarded by number 1 cornerbacks anymore like he was in Philadelphia for the longest. But the other thing that I would say about the trade itself and the move itself is that it's a sign if this continues to happen, if they lose to the Raiders, if they somehow blow a game to the Lions, which it is not out of the realms of possibilities. It is not, guys. I just want to let you all know that the Eagles can very well lose to the Lions with the way this team is coached, the lack of discipline, the quarterback play. There's a lot of guys on this team that can be moved in the upcoming weeks. And I think that Eagles fans should honestly prepare for it. Guys like Fletcher Cox, some of those guys on the offensive line, the older ones, even guys like Darius Slay. I wouldn't personally do it, but I do see, I get the reasoning if they do decide to go that route and, ship out some of these vets. But yeah, we're just in such like a dark place, man. It's like I'm getting hit. Like Zach Ertz, it's like a bullet, and I just can't even feel it anymore. Like the blow taken from this.
It sucks because
Carson Wentz last season, like that hurt so much. As somebody who I've created like this whole mantra in my head of who Carson Wentz. They sold him as the franchise quarterback to us, and then ripped away. Like stuff like that has just made me almost numb to these moves, with these players that we have so many memories with. I don't even know. You know what I mean?
I miss the days of the think about 2018 when they went out and or 2018, 2019 when they went out and sure overpaid for Golden Tate at the deadline because they thought they could make a run with an addition and those days. And now we're sitting here just a few short years removed from a Super Bowl. And it's like, get ready for some vets to be unloaded at the deadline. Zach Ertz is gone now. And here's my whole issue with it. It's all well and good with these draft picks.
Yeah.
Still got the same guy selecting those draft picks.
I knew
It's a fear. It's a fear,
It
dude. Don't get me wrong. It is going to be exciting as hell this upcoming draft with how it's starting, with how it's looking, it's going to play out. But the entire time until I hear those names selected or whatever happens with those picks, I'm going to be nervous. Because no one should have faith in what Howie Roseman can do. I love the Devontae Smith pick. It's what I wanted. I can't believe he actually did it. Landon Dickerson, TBD. Some people love him. Some people are When you see what you could. Here's my issue. Maybe Landon Dickerson turns out to be Jason Kelsey's replacement. It is a need, let's say. He's playing right now because of injuries. I got that. CJ, okay? You see, what's the linebacker from Wyoming? Logan Wilson?
Yep.
See him?
Balling.
Sante Samuel Jr. All right. I mean that's okay. Yeah. You guys love Landon Dickerson.
You know, I was not for the Landon Dickerson drafting. I get he can play out to be a quality player, but when you're looking at an offensive line that is already riddled with injuries, you go and add another injury riddled.
Again, I understand it's so early. It's 6 games. Dude, I've heard Milton Williams' name called maybe twice in 6 games, and he's in the rotation. So it's like, and people are going to be like, dude, it's 6 games, blah, blah. Okay. Well, it's 6 games for the other guys that we're talking about, and they're making plays. They're getting, like, you're hearing their name called. So I don't want to hear it's only 6 games. Am I giving up on the picks? No. But he has no track record to be like, I should have faith in this pick. Devontae Smith is the only one I'm hopeful and excited for. Outside of that, it's like, well, hopefully this works.
Seriously. And, you know, it's down the line, and, you know, it ultimately comes back to what we were talking about the entire time with the Eagles. The game plans, like, I'm not 100% convinced that Coach Sirianni is even making his game plan. Like, he didn't run an RPO offense in Indianapolis. I know he wasn't calling the plays, but there was none of that in that offense. Like, he's never ran an RPO offense ever. Like, he's never been a part of one. So where all these RPO schemes are coming from, the RPO schemes from last season when it was Doug Peterson, right? Where is this stuff coming from? And I only have one thought about it, and it's the higher ups. I think it is, you know, whether they pick Sirianni to be that guy that they can tell what to do, which is most likely what happened. That's not how an organization wins, where the guys that don't play football are deciding how to play football. Like, that doesn't correlate very well if Jeffrey Lurie, who's never played football a day in his life, is telling us how to coach a team.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
Running a mobile quarterback into an heir apparent. That's not Jalen Hurts. It's not the offense that I want either. I don't want a Baltimore offense. I want a nice offense where the quarterback can make all the throws. So don't get me wrong in that aspect. It's just a matter of looking at analyzing your team and understanding that you need to fit the game plan to the team and not the other way around. And that's just going to be a fundamental failure of the Eagles until Howie Roseman, Jeff Lurie, these guys.
They're the two. We talk week to week, Sirianni and Jalen Hurts, and that's what we can evaluate from the field.
Yeah.
But the biggest 2 issues are the ones we're talking about right now, and that's Jeff Lurie and that's Howie Roseman. Yeah. I can't stand Howie Roseman, but guess what? How can I call Howie Roseman the biggest issue if Jeffrey Lurie allows Howie Roseman to do that job year in and year out? So both those guys are issues.
Yeah.
Last 2 things I want to touch on. So we've already talked about Carson Wentz. We're talking about Jalen Hurts' quarterback issue. The funniest thing to me is when people say it's only a year. You got to give him more than a year. It's kind of ironic when you think about it. Carson Wentz was bad for 1 year. Now, I know people try to argue that, but you're wrong. Because before last year, he willed you and I, Scotty, to a division title. Yeah. He willed a bunch of practice squad players with bad play calling and a bad defense to a division title. The year before, he was so bad. So everyone wants to give Jalen Hurts all this time. Carson Wentz was really good for 3 to 4 years, bad for a year, and you threw his name under the bus. Now, here's the last thing that I want to touch on. That's not Eagles related. It is because we were talking about Jalen Reagor and his social media presence. What is wrong with some of these athletes and people nowadays? So obviously I wish we had them. He's not. We could have had him instead. We have J Jaw. But I just saw this. Did you watch the game last night?
Seahawks, yeah, DK Metcalf.
Did you see DK stay in bounds and then fumble and it could have cost him the game? Shannon Sharp tweeted. Now, again, Shannon Sharp is an analyst compared to a football player. But we know what Shannon Sharp, the tight end, was, right?
Yeah.
What was DK thinking? Why try to play hero ball in that situation? DK quote tweets it. Stop questioning me, little boy, with a cracking up face. Shannon quote tweets that. Nothing to question. That was dumb ass play and your pride won't let you admit it. You can't question anything I've done. Pray your resume will be as complete as mine. Pray. Enjoy the rest of your day. DK quote tweets that. From the looks of it, I can wipe my ass with yours. Continue to gossip, you washed up wannabe. Now, Shannon went at him as well, right? Shannon is just an analyst now. But who are you talking to? One of the greatest to ever do it? One of the greatest to ever do it, and you've won what, DK? This is my point, dude. Now, again, comparing the two things, Jalen Reagor stinks. DK Metcalf is a freak athlete and a really good wide receiver. But you haven't done or won anything in your short career, and you have the balls to go back and forth with one of the best to ever do it. I just saw it as the show was running out.
Yeah, no, and it's like, pay some respect to your heir apparent. Like, Shannon Sharp made this stuff possible for these players. He was not a part of the era where passing the football was mandatory. Yep. 3/4 of the game. Like, it was very much more balanced offenses being ran. He played in offenses with a great running game, right? Like, show some respect to a Hall of Famer. Like, that has done. He should be somebody that you look up to. You watch his film. And instead you go to the internet to try to win like a Twitter battle, when in reality, you should just humble yourself.
You lost the game.
That play was a dumbass play. Like,
and your team ended up losing the game.
It's very simple, man.
It's unreal, dude.
These kids are so entitled, and it's funny I can say kids now,
right?
But they're.
I think DK's like what, a year or two older than I am, so I can't. I've always, dude. Listen, that's just a phrase, a word I use. Like, some kids, I'm 23, I can call like 20, 21-year-old kids if I want to. But like, even when I was in like high school, dude, I'd be like, "Come on, kid." Meanwhile, I was like 7 years older than me, 5 years older than me. It's how I talk. It's how I talk about sports.
DK, all of these guys. You mentioned Jalen Reagor. There's a lot of these guys that they don't have respect for the game. And part of respect for the game is respecting the people that came before you, and they lack that completely. And it's just sad. It's honestly sad, because at the end of the day, DK Metcalf looks like the clown, not Shannon Sharp, who's racking up dollars as an analyst.
By the way, what's with the hair, DK?
He's gonna be in a boy band or something. I don't know, man.
I guess our shot of having DK Metcalf on our podcast is over now that we said this.
He's
whatever.
Bad. Don't you worry. He isn't humble enough to give some respect to Shannon Sharp, I doubt he's coming on good old DSM, man. But
Scott, wait, I just realized something. Are we running a little late for what you have planned? Or what time is it?
No, I'm not. Scotty Talks comes on at 8:30 tonight. So
8:30, okay.
Brock Land is on. So we are good. Don't have to worry about that.
All right, man. Well, even so, we are going to wrap up this episode of the Phaithful Phanatics. Got away from us. Went in all different angles. We talked Carson Wentz.
There's a lot.
DK Metcalf or Shannon Sharp. We talked about a lot today. Guys, if you are watching this now and you missed the beginning half, we had Ky Carlin of Sixers Wire on the show earlier to interview him on his thoughts of the Sixers' upcoming season that starts on Wednesday in New Orleans versus the Pelicans, as well as what's been going on with Ben Simmons. His word of how the vibe was at practice, awkward. Not a good sign for the Philadelphia 76ers team heading into Wednesday night's game. The Phaithful Fanatics show is, of course, brought to you by DSM Media, streaming to you guys live on our Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter accounts. And DSM Media is now proud to be brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped just launched their 4th-generation trimmer, the Lawnmower 4.0. You heard that right, the 4.0. Join over 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer just for you. 20% off and free worldwide shipping with code DSM at manscaped.com. Manscaped engineered the ultimate groin and body trimmer by focusing on intelligent functionality and an incredibly comfortable grooming experience. Their 4th generation trimmer features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. This upgraded trimmer includes a multi-function on and off switch that can engage a travel lock. It also gives you the ability to turn the 4000K LED spotlight on and off when needed for a more precise shave. And did I mention the wireless charging? The new wireless charging system uses electromagnetic induction, which can help battery length last longer. Get 20% off and free shipping with code DSM at manscaped.com. Again, that is 20% off with free worldwide shipping at manscaped.com using our promo code DSM. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. Your balls will thank you. So, guys, head on over to manscaped.com and use our promo code if you want to support us at DSM. And, of course, if you want to support us and Team DSM Media, we have merch. Here's some Phaithful Phanatics merch on our TeePublic site. So head over to our Twitter at DSM_media. It's in our link tree. Our TeePublic account is the first link to pop up. We got Phaithful Phanatics merch, DSM Media merch, Turf Talk merch, which just got in for me today as well. And then we have some Jalen Hurts rent is due design that I know my man Scotty just got in. Ow, that's a knee. I'm out for 2 weeks. That's it. Rent's late, Jalen. We got a Nick Sirianni attack every day t-shirt. Not looking so hot either, guys. But hey, very nice t-shirts, very comfortable, good to wear. And we will be having more Flyers, Sixers, and Phillies merch, and Eagles, of course, uploaded with our other show designs as well. For Scotty, for myself, for the Phaithful Fanatic Show, and for DSM Media, have a great night.